Okay, now we are going to learn about auxiliaries and how to use this in conversation. Okay, what are the auxiliaries? The modal auxiliaries, a few of them are may, might, can, could, will, would. Okay, we are going to just see a few normally used modal auxiliaries in general dialogues. Okay, may as such, it can stand for probability or, okay, I will just write here using modal auxiliaries. Okay, may actually can be used for possibility, and also for asking permission. Okay, might also talks about it may happen. Okay, possibility. Now I will teach you how it can be used in different ways. Will talks about certain, something certain happening. Certain happening. It will rain today. It will happen. This will happen means it is a certain happening. Would is a past tense of will, and also it is used as a polite permission. Okay, can talks about ability and also asking permission. Okay, can. Could also polite permission. Polite permission to higher officials. Okay. So, these are the general modal auxiliaries we are going to use now in dialogues, and let us see how we are using it. Then we will go to quasi modal auxiliaries, because these are very general ones that we use, and how to use it you should know. Okay. Okay, now we are going to see a dialogue between a teacher and a student and how he is using the word may. Okay. Student 1. May I come in, sir? Look at the way we have used the modal auxiliary may, that is asking permission, and the teacher says, yes, you may. Can you recite the whole poem now? Look at the way we have used can. Talks about ability. And the student replies, I am sorry, sir. I may not. Teacher. But why? Student. I am afraid I might forget in the middle. Look at this, might is another modal auxiliary. Teacher. Teachers usually encourage the students, isn't it? Never mind. Why don't you try? Student. Yes, sir. Okay, now if you see, we have got a lot of auxiliaries, modal auxiliaries. First we have may here, and then we have can, and then we have another may, and here might. Okay, so how do we segregate this? Like, just see how under what circumstance we should use which word. I am going to tell you. Now let us read the dialogue first, and then we will analyze it. Student. May I come in, sir? Teacher. Yes, you may. Can you recite the whole poem now? Student. I am sorry, sir, I may not. Teacher. But why? Student. I am afraid I might forget in the middle. Teacher. Never mind, why don't you try? Student. Yes, sir. See, first we have may I come in. So that's a asking permission to enter in. Okay, that is seeking permission. And teacher says yes, you may, giving permission to enter. Okay, this may, when teacher uses yes, you may, she is giving permission for the student to enter. Can you recite the whole poem now? Here he talks about the ability, whether the student is able or capable enough to recite the whole poem then. But the student says, I am sorry, sir, I may not. So here again the student says the ability, I may not be able to. That is what it means, isn't it? I may not be able to, I may not. So talks about ability here. Look at the different ways and means where we use all these auxiliaries. But why, when he asks, the student says, I am afraid I might forget. That is, it could happen, probability. Okay, I might forget in the middle. Teacher, never mind, why don't you try? Yes, sir. Okay, so this is how you should, you cannot say, can I come in, sir? Okay, that is why I am giving you all the usage of these modal auxiliaries. You should never ever go to a place and say, can I come in? It's wrong English. You should always say, may I come in? Can I come in talks about your ability. You can just enter. If you have 2 feet to walk in, you can walk inside, isn't it? So, can I come in is a wrong word to use. Only may you should use when you ask for permission. Please remember that. And might, you can just use it for a probability. And can you recite the poem? Here, capability or ability, teacher is asking him to recite the poem. Now, can we put, may you recite the whole poem now? No, we can only use can. So, please learn the usage of modal auxiliaries properly, only then your sentences, your dialogues will have proper meaning. Next, I am going to give you another dialogue between a student and a librarian, and she wants to take a lot of books home for reference, and let us see what the librarian says. So, may I take, or you may not take, or you cannot take. So, let us see how the dialogue goes. Okay? So, this is between a student and a librarian. First, you have to wish the librarian. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Can I borrow four reference books today? I need them very urgently for my assignment. For that, the librarian says, you may borrow only 2 books for reference. You could sit and take notes for the other 2. Here you can even use you can, okay, you can sit and take notes for the other 2, because the rule according to the librarian or the library rules say that they can take only 2 books at a time. Okay, only 2 books for reference at a time. You could sit and take notes for the other 2. Okay, then the student asks, how long can I keep the books? And the librarian says, you could keep them for 15 days. You can return it earlier and the other students can make use of it. Or here you can use for, here we will use for earlier might make and the student thanks the librarian Thank you, sir. I shall is another modal auxiliary. I shall take the books for one week. Okay, just say how many modal auxiliaries have we used? Can and you may, could. Here instead of could you can use even can. Okay, can. Again can, you could, can, okay, might. Now see how many places we have made use of the modal auxiliaries. Student, good morning sir, can I borrow 4 reference books today? Question mark. I need them very urgently for my assignment. Librarian, you may borrow only 2 books for reference. You can sit and take notes for the other 2, because the rule for the library says only 2 books at a time. Okay, student, how long can I keep the books? The librarian says, you could keep them for 15 days. You can return it earlier also, for the other students might make use of it. See, a book is not to be meant for one person to read. A library is for many people to read. So, he says 15 days normally you can keep the book, but you can return it earlier also, so that it will enable the other students to borrow the book and make use of it. And the student says, "Thank you sir, I shall take the books for 1 week. So, within a week I will return." Okay. Now, shall means denoting future action. See, now can, may, can, and you could keep them for 15 days. This can is giving permission, and here also he says you could. That is, that's a variation of how to use. You can keep them for 15 days also we can say, but how long can I keep the books? You could keep them for, like, because she has used can there, he has used could. That is the allied word for can. And again you can return it earlier also. Again he is giving an option, because the other students might, that is may, might, they might make use of it. And here she says I shall, that is for the future. For future reference, I shall take the books for 1 week. Okay. So, this is how you use modal auxiliaries in a conversation. Okay, now we just saw use of modal auxiliaries. There are some quasi-modal auxiliaries, okay, or semi-modal auxiliaries, and how to use them, where to use them, we are going to see. So, I will just write here semi or quasi. Okay. So, let us see how to use, like I am just going to give you some sentences, certain sentences where you should use these quasi-modal. For example, you ought to, O-U-G-H, ought to is one quasi-modal, and where to use it we will see. You ought to obey your parents. Okay, you ought to obey your parents. This actually it also means should. You should obey your parents. Ought to has the same meaning of should. Okay. Next one is need to. We need to take care of our health. She needs to buy better clothes for the occasion or for the function. Okay. Third modal auxiliary, I mean quasi modal auxiliary is used to. This is often used by elderly people. They always say, I used to walk for 10 kilometers to school those days. I used to wear short pants and go everywhere. I used to. So, habitual actions. Okay, habitual actions you can use used to. Grandparents, okay, usually they talk that way. I always used to have bread and butter for breakfast. I always used to use bread and butter for breakfast. Okay. Next one. We used to walk long distances to reach our school. Those days. Okay. Again, used to. Used to. All these are quasi-modal auxiliaries. Next one. Altogether there are 4. Okay. I am giving you the usage of all these quasi-modals. So, the 4th one is dare. How dare she speaks like that? How dare, that is how bold she is. How dare she speaks so rudely to her mother? You should dare to step into that ghost house. Again, here dare means bold, okay, daring. Like sometimes you say, can you do this? Okay, is it a dare? Dare means to challenge, okay, to show your bravery. Okay, now you ought to, I will give you one more, see, we ought to cover our books before submission. So, these sentences in due course of your conversation you can use these words, okay. So, ought to, you ought to obey your parents. When you tell some smaller children, you can use these words. You always ought to obey your parents. We ought to cover our books before submission. So, this means should, okay. You should obey, you should cover your books. So, that is what it means. Next one, need to, that is you should make it a practice. We need to take care of our health. We should make it a practice to take care of our health. She needs to buy better clothes for the function. She should be, or she has to make an effort to buy some new clothes or better clothes for the function, because she can't come in such clothes. Used to, this is habitual action, okay. I always used to have bread and butter for breakfast. It is a habitual action. I am used to this sort of problems. I am used to this sort of colors. So, used to means you are familiar with, okay. I always used to have bread and butter for breakfast. I am used to having coffee as soon as I get up from bed. Okay, these are all habitual actions. We used to walk long distances to reach our school those days. This your parents and your grandparents may be telling you they were in the habit of walking long distances, whereas now you have share autos, you have cars, you have bikes, you have everything to take you to your destination, buses and all that. So, we used to walk long distances to reach our school those days. You can even say to reach our office those days. Okay. Next one, dare is challenging someone, or even saying very how bold she is or he is. How dare she speaks, just here. How dare she speaks so rudely to her mother. How very bold she is to speak so rudely to her mother. A mother we should always give respect. How can she speak so rudely? So, you have used the word dare. You should dare to step into, this is okay, step into the ghost house. You should dare, you should always have the courage or guts, they say. You should be bold enough to step into the ghost house. So, these are the usages of quasi-modal or semi-modal auxiliaries.